Okay, here we go. We're in Denver, Colorado. We're taking off on runway 34 left, and we're going to be flying this TBM 850. It's a little single prop, turboprop plane, and we're going to be flying to Salt Lake City today. And let's go ahead and get this thing started up. First thing we do, we go to our power panel up here and move these sun visors out of the way. And we're going ahead and going to put this on external GPU source, power source. And once that's loaded, we'll turn the generator to main and the ignition to auto and our avionics all the way on, and we're going to set our panel and instrument lights here, and we're going to turn on our landing lights, taxi lights. Okay, let's go ahead and turn on our multifunction display. And we're going to do a flight plan here from Denver to Salt Lake City. So the one we have in there right now, we need to delete. So we'll go to menu and we'll go down to delete. Delete, hit that twice. And we delete it. Let's go back to flight plan. We're starting at KDEN. And we're going to be going to Salt Lake City. Let me check to see what the transition points are here for Salt Lake for this route. It's RLG and EKR. So let's go to RLG next. We have to get into that mode. RLG. Enter that. And the other one was EKR. So when you do this, you come up with this screen. It looks like you can just start typing right here, but you have to actually turn the knob to get to this screen. And EKR. And you have to hit the first one twice for some reason. Okay, let's enter that. And our final destination is going to be KSLC. KSLC, Salt Lake City. Here we go. Okay, our flight plan's in there. Let's go ahead and get this plane powered up. So the first thing we do to get powered up is we turn our aux BP onto auto. And our ignition's on, starter's on, generator, everything's on. Let's go ahead and we're going to turn our oxygen on. Let's go ahead and hit our starter. And we're going to wait right here, the RPMs. We need to get those up to at least over 85 or 90. If you try to start this when they're too low, you end up catching on fire. Okay, now we can either go down here to the throttle condition knob here and go up just a little bit. We don't want to go up too high. There we go. We've started the engines. Now let's go to our CAS messages. The first thing we want to do is it says to turn off the starter. So we want the starter off. We want the ignition off. We want the aux BP off. And we want the GPU now can go to BAT. And we want to turn on our AP trims. And we should be ready to finish getting set up to take off here. So what we want to do now is our CAS messages now. It looks good. So we want to go to our flaps to take off, one down. And I think all we need to do now is just take off our brake, which is the V button on the keyboard, and we'll go ahead and hit it. Now we can rotate it about 85 knots. We'll just fly this straight out for a bit until we get our autopilot set up. Now we just hit 60 knots. $85 knots, rotate. Okay. Positive rate, gear up. Go to our autopilot screen here. We want our yaw damper on. We want our flight director on. As soon as we get up to about right there, about 100 knots, we're going to go ahead and turn on our autopilot and our flight level change. And then we can tune our heading and our nav on. And we'll start climbing out here. One thing we forgot to do is we forgot to set up our altitude. Always forget something. We got to get our altitude up here. We're going to be flying at 26,000, so now we start climbing now. Now we're climbing. So we didn't have our altitude set. Easy fix. Should go through a checklist, I guess, like you're supposed to. Let's get that up to 26,000. Okay. Climbing out nicely now, 104 knots. That's indicative airspeed. And you can see here, if you look at our multifunction display panel here, it says 44 minutes to the first waypoint at this speed. So we'll climb this out and then we'll speed up. And it won't be quite as long after that. The other thing we want to do real quick here is we want to turn on our nav, strobe, and our pulse, and what this does is it turn off our taxi light, and it makes our landing lights flash back and forth, which is nice. I think that's it for the takeoff. Okay, we're coming up on FL 260, which is our cruising altitude, and we'll start speeding up now once we level off. We did flaps up at about 10,000, so there's no flaps right now, and we're going to be cruising for a while. So you can see we're starting to speed up here. Everything's looking good. You can see we haven't gone very far yet, because when you're climbing out, we're going pretty slow. So now we'll start speeding up. We should get up to around 200 knots on the indicative airspeed. And we'll start putting some miles behind us. A little bouncy out there. Okay, we're cruising now, and if we go to our multi-level display up here on top, it tells how many minutes to the next waypoint. So we got 11 minutes till we're going to do, till we get to the next waypoint and make a little course adjustment. The other thing we need to show here is we do have a new CAS message, fuel imbalance. So if we go down here and look at our fuel, our left, which is what we're on now, is 71. Quantity on our right is 81. So we need to change our fuel to go to the right tank. So in order to do that, let's see here, where is that? There it is, right there. So we just click over here to the right side. You can't really see the knob, it's so dark. You click to the right side and I can barely see that it moved the knob over to the right. So now that'll clear up that CAS message, and we'll just keep cruising along. Looking pretty clear out there. Okay, we're coming up on the first waypoint. We might make a slight direction change here. It's hard to see these on the multi-function display because they overwrite, but basically we're going to be going the same direction. If you look at our map, we're coming up on RLG, then we'll go to AKR or EKR. It's all about the same flight path. We're cruising along at 203 knots, indicative airspeed, and right now everything looks good. A little choppy out there, but everything looks good. And there we go. See, we're making a little bit of a turn to the left there to get lined up to the next leg. And we're all good. Okay, we're coming up on our next waypoint here, which is EKR. And we're going to do a little turn, and then we'll be heading into Salt Lake. Still cruising at about 205, 204 knots, 26,000 feet. There we go. Now we're making a little turn here. And our next leg here says we're going to KSLC, and about 47 minutes it takes to get there. So we're going to start looking at seeing how we're going to vector a little bit to the south so we can line up with runway 34 left, heading north. So we'll start looking at that in a little bit. Right now we have about 188 miles to go, so once we get down to about 100 miles, we'll start looking at how we're going to vector in. We got to watch the mountains. If we go to our VFR sectional view here, we can see that right now mountains aren't a big problem. Anything in like the light yellow is lower, and then the darker orange here is the higher mountains. But we're going to be heading into mountains when we get out here closer to Salt Lake. So keep on going for now. Okay, we're within 100 miles of Salt Lake, so now we're going to start looking at how we're going to vector in here and our altitude and see what we're going to do here. So let's open up our map, and it looks like we're going to be flying into some mountainous areas, but we should be safe at about 20,000 feet. So let's go ahead and descend to 20,000. And the way we do that is we're going to cut back our speed here, about 170 knots. Still getting bounced around out there a little bit. While that's happening, let's go ahead and set our altitude down to 20,000. A little tricky with bouncing around here, but we'll get her. Okay, 20,000, we're 162, so let's hit our flight level change button. We'll start descending here, holding at about 160 knots. We should be safe at 20,000. We're going to have to vector to the south just a little bit here in a few miles. So everything's looking good. Okay, it's time to vector a little bit south here so we can get lined up with the runway better. So let's look at our map here. And we can see that we want to come into runway 34 left right here. Let's go ahead and tune our radios. The easy way to do it. And and let's vector about 10 degrees to the south. So what we have to do first to do this is we need to take us out of GPS mode. So we want to click on this CDI button here and make sure that's green, and then we want to turn off our heading bug, which is off, and we want to, right now we're heading 265, we want to head 255. So let's go ahead and set our heading for 255. Hit our heading hold button, and we'll turn a little bit here. And if we look at our VFR sectional, we're still in a little mountainous area here, so we'll descend a little more just in a little bit here. Right now we'll hold 20,000. Okay, I think we're over our highest peak, so let's go ahead and descend down to 18,000. So what I do to do this is set our altitude down to 18,000, hit our flight level change button, and reduce our speed a little bit, and we'll start descending. Looking good. Nice mountainous Utah. We'll fly into the Salt Lake Basin here soon. Okay, we're coming over the mountains here into the basin, so we can go ahead and start descending down to a level where we can intercept the ILS. So it says the runway is at 4227. So I'd like to be about 25 to 3,000 feet above that to intercept the ILS. So let's go down to 7,000. Set our altitude down to 7,000. Hit our flight level change button and cut our power back a little bit. Start descending. See us descending. Okay, and we got a fuel imbalance again. So if we look at our fuel, this time the left tank is lower than the right, so we'll switch it back to the right. That should hold us the rest of the way in. Get rid of our warning light, and we'll descend on down to 7,000. We're getting close to where we need to make a turn into the runway here, so let's go ahead and get our map up here and check our course. If we go to, our course for the runway is 343. We're going to cut the power a little bit because we got to descend a little faster. We're a little late on the descent, but we should be all right. Not, we can do a little loop here, so let's change our heading a little bit farther south here, about 10 degrees. 245. We'll kind of loop down a little bit to buy us a little bit of time because we've got to descend a little bit here. Okay, let's turn in, get ready to turn in towards the runway here. 343, let's go ahead and change our heading. Take our heading bug off, set it to 343. So we're turning in towards the runway here. We might still be a little bit high. Go ahead and see if we can pick up the localizer here. If we hit the approach button, we are a little high, so we're going to have to take it out of autopilot mode here and do a little dive here to get back to where we need to be. Let's come down a little bit here. Speed's picking up. We'll just fly this in manually the rest of the way. Speed's coming down, gears down. And happy lights 2 red, 2 whites. We're on a good course. And our glide slope looks good. Get lined up here. Okay. Need to be down around 90 knots here, so let's looking good. 93 knots. Get ready for touchdown, 80 knots, a little slow. Okay, cut throttle, nose up. Reversers. Clean up the flaps. Reversers off. Let's get off the runway. We'll check out our landing. Wasn't too bad. Okay, let's check out our landing here. Let's stop here. Parking brake on. We were coming in a little steep and a little fast, so we had to get down and slow down quickly. But it worked out. Here it comes. It's good right there. There it is, not a bad landing in Salt Lake. That'll do it for this week. Next week we'll be flying to Boise, Idaho. Talk to you later.